What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a big, huge album roundup. I'm going to talk about 12 albums. I'm going to limit myself to talking about each of them for 1 minute because there's a lot of freaking music to get through. If you're interested in a Stapleton review, I reviewed Chris Stapleton's new record, Starting Over, in the last video, so check that out if you want something more in-depth. It's an extremely good album, but otherwise, I'm just going to do my best to cover a bunch of stuff from the last few months. I'm probably going to be missing one of your favorite albums. I'm probably going to be missing some EP that had 4 songs on it. This year has been weird. Not only have I been on an emotional roller coaster, and I've owned up to that, and I have been sober now for about 6 weeks, and that seems to be an immediately good decision in a lot of areas of my life, but also it's been weird for the release of music because it doesn't really feel like albums have their moment the way they used to. Like, it doesn't feel like TV shows do either. You look at all the award shows, the ratings are plummeting. No one really cared about the CMA Awards. Albums seem to just kind of immediately be off the radar. Dierks Bentley even talked about that recently in an interview in The Boot. He talked about how the Hot Country Nights record just kind of went poof and it didn't really have its moment. And that's kind of how I feel with all of this music. There's so much of it coming out and the artists are not able to tour, so they're releasing these kind of acoustic records or reimagined versions of their old records. And so anyway, it's just sort of a weird year. I think you would agree, but I'm going to cover 12 albums in today's video. And like I said, they each get 1 minute and that's enough preamble. Let's just get into these. One little note, Garth Brooks' new record is not in this video because it was off my radar, to be honest, and it was off of y'all's radar too. Like, no one messaged me even that Fun finally came out after this 2.5-year wait, and I think that's because it's sequestered over in Amazon, and I know Garth has his reasons and says he wants to protect songwriting royalties, which I feel like there's some other incentive for having an exclusive as well, but to me it's not very consumer friendly, but I still want to get to it at some point, but it's not in this video, just being honest. And neither is Co Wetzel's record because I've only listened to it once, and I always listen to things at least twice before I review them. I don't know if you knew that. Okay, first up is the Brothers Osborne record, Skeletons. Let's get to sing going all night. I absolutely love the Brothers Osborne's last record, Port St. Joe, and I think some of the same funky, fun atmosphere of that record has come onto their new record, Skeletons, but I think it has lost some of the soul, some of the emotive lyrics of that record. This one's much more just about having a good time, and you can hear that on the song All Night, which is sort of a nonsensical lyric, but it has a bit of a groove. I think the southern rock vibes on this, I wish they were allowed to let loose a little more. I feel like the Floridian atmosphere in Port St. Joe kind of invited them to be a little bit more loose, but there's something that feels a bit neutered about the rocking on this record, to be honest. However, there are a few moments that absolutely slap. I think Skeletons, the title track, is naughty and excellent. And I think that I'm Not For Everyone is another huge standout to me. I'm like scotch inside a cold man's. I'm like beside town. There's some slower ones at the end I enjoy, but on the whole, I think I'd give it like a 6 out of 10, but it's still enjoyable. After that, we got Parker McCollum's EP, Hollywood Gold. Well, it just might be the hardest thing I do. I've been trying to get into Parker McCollum for a little while now, and this is the first release where I just, without objections, really enjoyed it. I mean, I guess I have a few objections. I think Pretty Heart and Love You Like That, which are kind of the two lovey-dovey songs on the record, also feel like the most boring productions, but I still think that this album shows shades of moodiness and melancholy that I think make it really interesting. Young Man's Blues has this kind of angst about growing up. Halle Ray Light kind of sets you in the middle of, it's unclear what the relationship tension is, but it turns into a total jam of a song. Like a Cowboy is a really great song that we've already talked about here, and then Hold Me Back has some piano, and I actually like the piano all through this record, and overall I think I'd give this EP like a 7. I really enjoyed it. Then we have Cam's new record, The Otherside. I wanna know what it feels like to disappear into you and never have to say Cam has a gorgeous tone in her voice. We all heard that on her breakout single, Burning House, and I feel like it is still alive and well on her new album. She's pretty much done, it seems like, playing ball with country radio, trying to get these sort of more kind of upbeat, poppier, fizzier songs that might play on the radio on her record. This is much more cerebral, and it's quite beautiful, and it is very pop inflected. It reminds me of a Caitlin Smith record, but it also kind of reminds me of, on that last Caitlin Smith record, it can be a bit nondescript. It can feel like these songs a little bit run together and are lacking enough of an edge. And it can feel a bit sleepy, I guess would be the word. However, it can also feel completely gorgeous. I feel like she nails melancholy. On Happier For You, where you get the whole scene at a wedding and the most evocative little details, and she's trying to be happy for the groom, that's awesome. Forgetting You is incredible.
When it's quiet, I'm quietly saying your name.
And on the upbeat side, we have Classic, which is jangly and fun.
They don't make 'em like this anymore.
My least favorite song was actually the lead single, Till There's Nothing Left. It's just too much happening with the production, takes away from the story. I think overall I'd give the album a 6. Next up is Sturgill Simpson's Cuttin' Grass. So this record is a reimagining in a bluegrassier way of a lot of Sturgill Simpson's older music. I actually did the math and looked, and there's 7 songs on here that were originally on High Top Mountain, 7 that were on Meta Modern, 4 that were on Sailor's Guide, and 4 that were from his old band Sunday Valley. Now, I love High Top Mountain. High Top Mountain is still my favorite Sturgill record, so I love that some of these songs are getting re-exposed into the world. My favorite version of Sturgill is the bluegrassier side of him. He's got musicians like Sierra Hull backing him up on this record. It sounds gorgeous. Water in a Well, when you add in some of the creakier elements, oh, it's so great. And then you have other songs like I Don't Mind that are beautiful on here. It's so nice to listen to. It's just too long. I mean, you're like, 20 songs. I don't need 20 songs from pretty much any artist, but it's so nice. It's got to get like an 8 out of 10. And also, while reading about this album, I ended up in a big wormhole that led to me watching Billy Strings and Sierra Hull play Circles by Post Malone. Wow, the internet, it can be a beautiful place sometimes. And while we're talking about Sturgill, let's mention Tyler Childers' Long Violent History. On this record, Tyler Childers is showing off his fledgling fiddle skills. And the first 9 songs are all kind of creaky fiddle classics. And look, he's not especially great at the fiddle. He's learning, but it's serviceable. And then the last song is called Long Violent History. It has lyrics. It is imagining sort of, or empathizing, I guess, with the black community and thinking about police brutality. He wrote it back in June when a lot of the country was thinking about that. And this song, I think it's got gorgeous lyrics, and it's kind of just inviting you into a moment of empathy, but it's kind of taken the wind out of this project. It's all anyone is focusing on. And if you watched his sort of statement about the record that he released concurrently, I think Tyler Childers is making more than just that one statement. He's also saying that the way you actually change culture is you create culture. And so he is learning about his roots. He's learning about the place where he's from and the music of that place, and actually learning to play it, and that is its own powerful form of contribution and protest.
Things like hewing a log, carving a bowl, learning a fiddle tune, growing a garden, raising some animals, canning our own food, hunting and processing the animal, fishing, blacksmithing, trapping, and tanning the hide, sewing a quilt. And if we did things like that, we'd have a lot less time to argue back and forth over things we don't fully know, backed by news we can't fully trust.
I really felt the minute limit on that one. Then I want to mention Keith Urban's The Speed of Now, Part 1.
I was with you, baby, I was Superman.
Y'all know I'm not the biggest Keith Urban fan, but it hasn't always been like this. I would say something happened around Fuse. Fuse was his last, I feel like, defensible record, and then with Ripcord and Graffiti U, and now The Speed of Now, which is only Part 1, he's threatening a Part 2 of this. I don't know what happened to Keith Urban. It's like he took a little bit of whatever Garth Brooks takes and got a little bit of a savior complex, and he wants to really say something in his music, but also he just wants to be broad and spread love and kind of say nothing. That's definitely how I feel about the weird song Say Something on this album that's over a trap beat, and it feels like what would be like a talent show finale in a Disney Channel original movie. In general, this feels like shopping mall music to me. It's somehow both dull and over-caffeinated at the same time. That's very apparent on songs like Soul Food, in which I think this is another one about oral sex, much like Kenny Chesney's Tip of My Tongue, but It is a very white sounding song called Soul Food. Like a lot of country acts that wish they were pop, I think the songs where he really just goes pop are the most successful ones here, and those are the first two, the collaboration with Nile Rodgers and the collaboration with Pink. I feel like those are the most successful on the album, but on the whole, I did not enjoy this album. I'm going to give it like a 4. Then we've got a deluxe album from Luke Combs, so it's 5 extra songs on What You See Ain't Always What You Get.
Maybe some things last forever after all.
I think the 5 songs that are added on to this record have the same solidness, but also the same sameness as a lot of that record, which was already pretty long. And I do hope moving into a third record from Luke Combs that we start to get a little bit more experimentation, that we aren't kind of just going with the straightforward rocking country sound, because for the first time listening to these, I was starting to feel a little bit bored. Now, obviously, Cold As You is a banger and I think a little bit underrated. Forever After All, I think is schmaltzy and nice and maybe a little overrated, but I think the standout, and I'm going to spend the rest of my time saying this, is Without You.
Mama always had her a second job, gone with the sun to
Which is written with Dan Isbell and Wyatt Durrett and has Amanda Shires on the track as well. And you get this sequential moment of gratitude from Luke Combs. First to his parents, and he wouldn't be on the stage without them. Then to his, presumably his wife, Nicole. And then to his fans. And it's so gracious and it's so beautiful. If I were just judging these 5 songs, I feel like I'd give it a better score than I give it in the context of the album, which it's starting to feel a little samey to me, so maybe just like 7. Then we got Carrie Underwood's Christmas album, My Gift.
Let the world stand still, the church bells ring.
This is an extremely traditional Christmas album. I'm not even really going to call it a country Christmas album. This is just pretty straightforward, orchestral, pretty, explicitly religious Christmas songs that are belted beautifully by Carrie Underwood. If you like strings and bells and piano notes and big high notes on Oh Holy Night, this is going to be the record for you. There are 3 originals on here. There's one called Let There Be Peace.
Let there be peace, peace to every
That gets a little bit more gospel-y. And there's a really gorgeous duet with John Legend called Hallelujah. And then there's another one called Sweet Baby Jesus. You hear her son a little bit on Little Drummer Boy, and I don't know that he inherited Carrie's pipes, but he's a kid. Who knows? It's very grand, but a bit pageanty for me. It's hard to review a record like this, but I would give it a 6, but you might give it a 10, but someone else might give it a 2. It depends on your Christmas music preferences. And then we're going to do Granger Smith's Country Things Volume 1.
with a dirt road, slow jam, yes sir, no man.
Granger Smith is someone I'm intimidated to talk about because he's kind of a cult of personality. I know he's got a huge following here on YouTube, and people enjoy his character Earl Dibbles Jr., but I've just never connected to his music. And believe it or not, I do not get off on saying that on camera. I do not enjoy disliking people's music, but I feel like Granger is pretty schlocky. And you hear that on a few songs on here, like I Kill Spiders, which is a very kind of like, almost feels like you're reading a children's book about what a good dad is like. And then sometimes I feel he's a bit pandering with southernisms on songs like Chevys, Hemis, Yodas, and Fords. And it feels very cheesy to me a lot of the times, derivative, checklisty.
You're my little senorita, sipping a margarita, so hot you're stealing.
And because people love him and love his family, they just sort of love everything that comes along with the package. But when you're from the outside, it feels pretty cheesy. I do think the title track, Country Things, is beautiful. The brushed drum. And you can hear the picking guitar near the beginning, and it just is, it's not the most creative song in the world, but it is a beautiful, beautiful version of what country life and country music can be like. And I'm happy that I just genuinely loved something on this EP, because otherwise I think I'd give it like a 4.5 maybe. I'm sorry, Granger fans, I'm sorry. Then let's mention Riley Green's EP, If It Wasn't for Trucks. I feel the same way about this EP that I felt about Riley Green's debut record, which is that the sound of it is better than the content of the lyrics. And I think the sound of it is still so good. I love his taste of music, or the people that he works with. They put together great sounding music. I enjoy hearing the steel guitar. I enjoy the sort of straightforward country sound. I think he has a good voice. I like that he brought Randy Owen from Alabama onto this album. But all that said, I still think most of his content tends to be just checking off Southernisms, whether it's Jesus and Wranglers or Boots or Trucks. So music I'd give like an 8.5, but words I'd give like a 5, because I just want something more than things that are pulling on Southern identity or trying to make you feel nostalgic on songs like Behind the Times. I just know he can do more because I heard it on Numbers on the Cars, and that's what I'm looking for in his music. So I guess this, I don't know what the average of that is. Probably like a 6, like everything else in this video. That's just kind of how a lot of these albums hit me. Then we got Kelsea Ballerini's Ballerini.
Truth is, me and you, we're wired different. So it makes sense.
This is an acoustic reimagining of Kelsea Ballerini's album Kelsea from earlier this year. Again, it is one of these kind of novelty quarantine releases, but I think this is really interesting. I think it's an interesting concept to use her first and last name. I think when you put the album covers beside each other, it feels like a fully realized project, and there are parts of this that I like less than the original album and parts that I like a lot more. Namely, I think Bragger works a lot better. She kind of reimagines it in a little bit sexier, vampier of a way than just kind of this pop release. I think Love Me Like a Girl, which is such a standout lyric from that first record, talking about how she enjoys that he loves her like a man, but emotionally sometimes she just wants some connection the way she gets from her girlfriends. I think you really are able to hear that lyric a lot better without some of the production around it. Same with Hole in the Bottle. I feel like it has that country groove that the bigger production on the song kind of is missing.
Ain't what you think. This Cabernet has a way of vanishing.
If you were to mesh each of these together and swap out a couple select tracks, you could have a much more stellar album. When you hear her words kind of without all the sparkle, without everything around them, I think it's really disarming and highlights her as a songwriter, but she's probably always going to lean into the sparkle some. That is sort of her thing. But on the whole, I really liked this. I got to it late. I have not listened to it much, but very much enjoyed it. Can't give it a score, but you should check it out if you liked the words but not the sound of that first Kelsea Ballerini record. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Muscadine, Bloodline's Burn It at Both Ends. And actually, I just realized I'm not going to talk that much about this because I just did like a 3-minute segment on them in the Best Under the Radar video, so you should go check that out. Long story short, I really like this record. I really like the final 3 tracks. Ain't the Van with BJ Barham is amazing. Chunk of Change with Brent Cobb is amazing. And then they've got that song Walk in a Room. Oh, I think it's gorgeous and sexy, and I think they've got another song on here with Jordan Fletcher. Something something about nothing, nothing about something. It's something like that.
Here goes nothing but something about telling someone you've been loving.
I like Muscadine Bloodline, and I'm enjoying getting to know them as a band. So with all that said, that is all I'm covering in this video. Album roundups are bar none the most stressful video. It is so much work distilled into a little bit, but I have now listened to a full 70 albums in 2020, which is nuts. That's a lot of music to listen to. So if you're ever interested, you can go check out my playlist, and it is updated. I'm getting into a rhythm of updating it every 2 weeks with any music that I like that I've heard. It's got like almost 6,000 people following it on Spotify, so you should go give it a follow as well if you want a little bit of everything in country music. I'm not going to work harder than that on making a playlist for now. So hope you enjoyed this. Hope you found something you like. Let me know your thoughts on these albums down below, and that's it. Bye, guys.